Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Karen. Is working behind the scenes. Yes. To the question that I heard floating during our musical break, Karen is a part of the team.
Amen. Amen. That's the answer to that question.
Many teams, not just an earthly team, but also spirit teams and all kinds of stuff. But thank you so much. It's so good to see everyone again. I've been seeing so many of you all weekend. It's been a long weekend, right? We finished up our grief course on Saturday with our fire ceremony, which was fun. And then our refuge work session yesterday. And now we have refuge practice now, in which you'll be getting again if you'll be joining me in the UK in 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks now, 3.5 weeks. We'll be doing our first ever live in-person refuge ceremony in the UK, so that's going to be really exciting. You're going to get our brand new refuge cards as well. So yeah, lots of stuff. So welcome back. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome to this space. This is the practice of Medicine Buddha. We're here healing and getting free together. Yeah. One of the things that we've been working on, well, I think actually we're always working on this is the work of surrendering into the practice. Right? And that's for me what refuge is about a surrender. It's a recognition that I can't do this work alone, right? That liberation work is a collective effort. Right. Just to invoke our ancestor Tina Turner, like we don't need another hero. Right? We don't need another hero. In fact, if there is going to be a hero, the hero is community, right? So as we are like moving deeper and deeper into this moment of collective and well, this moment of just collapse and apocalypse and turmoil, right? What we're being taught is that we get through this through collective care, right? That we hold on to each other, we hold on to our beloveds, right? And we protect each other, and we watch out for each other, we practice for each other, we fight for each other, right? I think that those of us who are struggling with that will have the hardest time. Right? There's so many people looking for a hero to emerge, looking for Jesus to come again. You know, Jesus has been here many times before. We just kind of ignored him. First time he came, we put him on a cross and crucified him. So I think he wanted to be a little more stealth in his later incarnations. Um, but no, it's we keep looking up to some figure that's going to swoop in and make everything okay, when in fact, we're going to have to do something that's may feel harder, but actually is much more generative and much more about the new world that's coming, which is about actually looking around, and learning how to work cooperatively with people, right? And it doesn't mean that you agree with people, right? It doesn't mean you have to like people to struggle with them in liberation work, right? I think we have to kind of get over that, you know. You don't have to like anyone to get free with them, but you have to love everyone to get free, period. Not just the people you're struggling with, but you have to love everyone. You have to want everyone to be free and happy and safe, right? Nor will it be comfortable. Community isn't necessarily comfortable. It doesn't necessarily always feel good. Community is challenging, right? But you can't keep looking for this ideal situation of comfort. It's not about comfort, this is about work, and it's about belonging to communities who are moving in the same direction, right? So, but this collective care is important, and this is something we have to learn to surrender into. This is why refuge practice has been important for me to introduce, right, into the community. You know, we have to realize that we rely on others, right? That reliance is going to be how we change. Mhm. Um, so we hold on to each other, we fight for each other, right? Um, we look out for each other, all of that. I know it's easy to lose hope right now. There's a lot of hopelessness. A lot of people are giving up, you know. And it's easy to give up when you don't trust yourself, right? It's easy to give up when you don't trust the people around you, especially, right? You know, it's easy just to give up, right? But we're not here to do easy, you know. We're not here to do easy, right? Real liberation work is the hardest thing you will ever do in any lifetime, right? Getting free, embodying love, getting clear, mourning, grieving, making hard choices, you know, especially hard choices of having to kind of let people go who aren't ready to do the work with you. Mhm. That's been some of the hardest work that I've been doing recently is to let go, is to say thank you, but we're actually not moving in the same direction, right? And if we're not moving in the same direction, then it's going to end up being a lot of tension, right? And you can't force anyone to get free. You can't force anyone to speed up. You can't force anyone to get it together. We have to consent to that, right? And some of us are spending way too much time trying to make people get into liberation when in fact it's just not their time, right? Because we haven't always been ready, right? You know, we weren't necessarily born ready, right? We got ready because there were so many people who got us ready, who wrote and they spoke and they preached and they mentored us and they inspired us in the same way others inspire them, right? And that's how we have to approach this. We just have to embody what this work looks like, and then that can begin to show people an example of what you're trying to get them into. You know, don't tell me, don't talk a good game, but show me what it means to be free. Show me what it means to be fluid and loving. Show me what it means to make hard decisions. Right? Like, show me what it means to, as we say in the community, keep your eyes stayed on the prize. Like, show me what that looks like. You know, social media creates this illusion, you know, where people just kind of jump on and just talk a whole bunch of shit and then create this whole persona, you know, and get people to buy into that persona, right? And we have to be very skillful about that, you know. We have to be very skillful about what we buy into. All the illusions are beginning to kind of fall apart. There's cracks. Mm. Right, as the ancestors would sing, there's a leak in this old building. Right, there's a leak in this old building, honey. You know, and your soul has got to move. You know, it's time to do something different. So I was also thinking about prayer today, since we do a lot of prayer. And as we do in our prayer work in Medicine Buddha, right? You know, you hear me say particularly as we're supplicating, the Buddhas and the sources of refuge, right? We're saying we pray that you intervene, right, to bring about, through the fruition of what we're praying for. And I always say, and may you show us how to bring these prayers, the fruition of these prayers about as well. Show us how to act in accord with the fruition of these prayers. And both of those are very important aspects of the prayer. We pray for beings who are much more powerful, much more intuitive to work on our behalf. And we also pray that we're shown what our work is to bring about the fruition of these prayers as well. Right? Both of these have to happen. Right? Prayer has to be met with action. Right? Even if that action seems very minute, very vague, like there has to be some significant gesture of action to bring about like the reality of this prayer, right? And so we're praying for both of those things, for something to happen and for us to be shown what to do to make it happen, right? And as we're shown what to do, that also includes us getting the resources that we need to make something happen. Right. And sometimes we have to practice a lot of patience because what we need or the resources we need may be very subtle things, but they're still showing up, but it may take time for us to notice that, right? It may take us time to notice or to feel something opening, right? But something is always happening when we pray, something happens, right? Because we don't notice it doesn't mean that the prayer wasn't effective. So there's this practice of patience right now. And patience is hard in crisis, right? People are being snatched off the streets, right? We're losing healthcare, we're losing, rights, I mean, left and right, and I hope soon there's one person that this planet will lose, right? And so actually there's a whole list, but I'm a good Buddhist tonight. As a hoodoo practitioner, I may have a different perspective, but like I'm gonna be a good Buddhist ethicist tonight, and then and keep it clean. But we pray for what needs to happen, like what needs to happen, like for us, we, the royal we, for us to get free we also have to be courageous and praying for things to happen that need to happen, even if it means death. Right? Now you're not praying for death. Now I don't want to put that into your mind because I know how some of y'all talk, and pretty much, all the Buddhists are like, well, Lama Rod is teaching people to pray for death. Listen, this is embedded in Tibetan practice culture, by the way. Like we don't talk about it. You know, like this isn't public information, but embedded in the tradition, there's all kinds of rituals, you know. Um, Tibetan practice, Tibetan Buddhism, like any indigenous tradition, has has a shadow, right? But we don't train in those shadows. But because we're Westerners, someone probably wrote a book about it, so we have it. Um, but yeah, we pray for what needs to happen, right? That's rooted in anti-slavery, abolition work. You know, um, I think about Harriet Tubman, who was just like, what needs to happen is going to happen, right? What needs to happen is going to happen. Um, is Yeah, this moment of spiritual warfare, right? This real moment of spiritual warfare. it's hard on those of us who've never had to fight before. Or it's hard for those of us who don't come from ancestries where our ancestors had to fight to survive. So it doesn't feel natural to fight. That's why I feel like a lot of people aren't in the streets yet, because, a lot of people have never had to struggle, real life and death struggle, to get resources that they need. A primary resource is just space to exist, you know? Um, so when I talk about spiritual warfare, I talk about I'm connecting to my ancestors, right? I'm connecting to just like all these centuries of Black prophetic traditions and anti-slavery, Black struggle, like just all the ways in which, my ancestors just really didn't take things for granted. It was always this thing, this discomfort around that everything feels precarious, right? And so we have to remain watchful, right? Which is why I love Oh Happy Day. It's a song, Watch, Fight, and Pray. Like that's just kind of drilled into my body. That's like in my cells, right? Watch, fight, and pray. We were always watching. We continue to watch. Because we were Black in a world that was so against us existing, right? And that was so against us choosing our own expression of being, So you had to watch out for that. And not only were you watching, you were praying because we had to connect to something that transcended the rigidity of the phenomenal world, the harshness of all these systems. We had to connect higher, right? And as we prayed, we learned how to fight. The prayer offered context to how we engaged in struggle. Right? But again, for me, this is why we come back to these themes all the time. I talk about watching, paying attention, mindfulness, awareness. That's the core of our training, right? And then we're praying. That prayer is a connection into emptiness ultimately. From a very Buddhist perspective, we are connecting into the real profound potential of emptiness, right? To remember that emptiness is always trying to get us free if we could just pay attention and surrender to it. To surrender to it and to return back to that state. Prayer is like the lifeline, like it's like something that's cast into the depth of emptiness. And it's like something that we're like tugging on to, and it's leading us deeper and deeper back into that state of ultimate liberation. Mhm. And I think the fighting is also about practice, the struggle and practice, the struggle to get clear, right? And this is the only thing that we're doing in our practice. Like if you want to just kind of boil it down to that, this is all we're doing, right? Watching, paying attention, getting clear, you know, developing awareness. And then we're talking to the most sacred experience, which is emptiness and everything that arises intentionally from emptiness, right? As we pray to Medicine Buddha, we're actually just praying into the heart of emptiness, right? And as we're struggling with our own delusion and misperceptions and misunderstandings, that is the fight. The struggle is the fight, the practice itself, right? To cut through all of this misunderstanding so that we can return back into the states to remember what we are ultimately. This is what any deity practice in Tantric Buddhism is doing. And emptiness isn't this cold void, nihilistic expression, right? Because that's very hopeless. Like nihilism and also materialism are quite hopeless extremes, right? And this is why this is called the middle way, right? It's neither material nor is it nihilistic. It is both. And both these coming together, it creates this, I don't know, opens a portal or something, but like the intersection of form and emptiness or materialism and nihilism actually creates this disruption that actually begins to shatter all of our perceptions, right? All of our rigidity, right? The intersection of form and emptiness is meant to deeply disrupt you, to jolt you. It's like being struck by lightning, I guess, you know, to feel that disruption and all of a sudden you're out. You're out of the groove. And when you fall out of the groove, you awaken, right, to the truth of things. Like we're trying to get out of the groove, right? And we're trying to ally with discomfort in a really generative way, right? To get to the truth of things. Because we're still too comfortable, and we're praying actually for more discomfort, right? But a generative discomfort, not a discomfort that's suffering, but a discomfort that's actually trying to get us to the truth. Because that discomfort is not allowing us to settle back into this delusion of comfort and stability. Like we have to stay in this frequency, which feels really rough, but that's the only way we're going to remember what we are, right? To disrupt all of this, right? And to dance in that disruption, to expand into that disruption, right? And the more you do this, the more you will feel separate actually from people, from beings, right? The clearer you get, the more isolated you may feel because most beings, I would say humans specifically, are just really like tuned into the matrix. They're like plugged in, right? And when you start like trying to get free, trying to shake, all of that stuff free, then people are going to see you as, they'll see you you know, as a threat, really, right? Because no one wants to be reminded of all the ways they're consenting to suffering. Mhm. And we consent to the suffering because deep down, somewhere unconsciously, we know what it's going to take to really get free. Right? So it feels easier just to choose to stay asleep, to stay plugged into the matrix. So none of this is really easy. I'm so sorry. I know you want it to be easy. I know you want this to be like, oh, I don't know, an insight class, but it's not. And that's the only shade to insight that I'm throwing tonight. That was all shade, I admit that. But but no, it's just like but here's the other thing, and I'll say this and then we'll get into our practice because we're getting into time. But like it's just, yes, it's hard, the struggle is difficult. And at the same time, there's a joy that emerges in the struggle that's so much more powerful than the struggle itself. Like there's a joy in this because you're finally, or you're continuing rather, to do this work of ultimate liberation, not just for yourself, but for everyone. Because yes, as you are like disrupting people, they will come to deeply appreciate that disruption when they themselves begin to choose this work, you know. So we hold on to that, you know, especially in times when we feel like we're just so completely off, or it just feels so lonely or isolating, or we're just so confused and have so much doubt, questioning if what we're doing is really the path, you know. As that's when you keep going. That's when you call in all your benefactors, and when you start praying to all the great change makers, to all the great activists, to all the Buddhas and everyone, and you start letting them tell you stories, you know. Let them tell you stories about how they got over. This is why I love studying the lives of, you know, just change makers in general, right? That's the point of free radicals, right? Is to learn from the struggle of so many people so we don't feel so alone, right? So that's my pep talk for tonight. And I hope that was helpful for some of you, right? So you just keep going. Just keep going. When you want to give up, just keep going. Maybe you take a break, but make it a short break and keep going, right? And I promise you and we do have free radicals on Thursday, by the way. Um, yeah, but yeah, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Just keep going. Okay. So we're gonna get started. Make sure your prayers are in the dock. As we begin. So we'll be doing something very similar to what we've been doing for a couple of weeks, a little bit of mirroring practice, but a lot of calling in as well through Medicine Buddha, right? Um, like a resting within this awakened consciousness of Medicine Buddha, right? And as we've been practicing, to become the deity only requires a thought. I am Medicine Buddha. And when you have the thought, just rest in the thought itself. And don't engage, with the thought. Don't add more to the thought, right? Because that's when you start going on trips. You start having a little trip, a little ego thing, right? It's like I am, and just rest in the space that opens up as that thought passes through. I am the healer. I am an expression of Medicine Buddha, right? Because to say that you are Medicine Buddha is to also say that you recognize your expression from emptiness itself, that you are rising like all phenomena, like all Buddhas, from emptiness, from the state, this liberated state of being that transcends dualities, right? That transcends suffering, right? This returning back to the state. And the more we rest in this state that's opening for us through our practice, the more we get this experience of emptiness kind of integrated into our experience of the relative, right? Do I need to talk about gravy again? Because I can, and I will. Actually, I will do it. It's like gravy. It's like when you're making gravy, like it can get real thick, right? Until you have to thin it out. You have to put something in it to get that gravy like nice and like, you don't want it too thin, right? But you don't want to paste, right? And so when we're opening to emptiness like this, we just want to get a few drops of emptiness stirred in to the thickness of the relative. Right? We're not trying to thin out the relative completely because we're still in the relative. We still have to be here, but we need a little more looseness, a little more space, right? You just need a few drops. You don't need a lot. Right? Okay, so let's go. Let's do this. So again, simple practice, just like we've been doing. If you're new here, this is all guided, right? We'll put in all the mantras into the chat box that we'll use, right? But let's start by calling ourselves in. So calling ourselves in from the past, calling ourselves in from the future, arriving on the seat, feeling the weight of your body, the seat rising to hold you. And in our refuge practice, before we even get to taking refuge in the three gems or the three jewels, we take a vow to be in the moment, to be in the present. This is our first vow because you can't do anything else unless you're here, right? Right. So our first commitment, our first vow is to be present. Then our second vow is as much as possible to be with our bodies, right? Our bodies are an important part of our liberation. We're not trying to get liberated from the body. We're trying to get liberated through the body. We always remember that in tantric practice, it is always liberation through, not liberation from, right? Because the work is to move into the thing, to recognize the essence of that thing. That's the liberation. There is nothing, no form of phenomena that does not arise from emptiness, right? Including the most intense suffering, including the most exuberant joy, are all expressions of emptiness. And our third vow is to the earth, to the land that tethers all of us. So we greet the lands that are holding us in deep appreciation. And we ask the land, we offer a prayer to the land, to the earth, and the earth as our mother, to take care of us, to tether us as we move deeper into our practice. And so when you're ready, I invite you to shift your attention back Maybe actually for the first time, shifting our attention to our heart centers. And as you do that, I also invite you to reflect on why you practice, and that we're practicing first and foremost to get free and then to help others get free, right? So we practice to get free, and as we get free, helping others to get free. And we think about how important freedom, liberation is, freedom from war, genocide, famines, from violence, from domination, freedom from not ever feeling safe enough, freedom from dictators and authoritarians and anyone who seeks to subjugate us or any being. And connecting to that deep desire for all beings to be free. You connect that longing for all beings to be free with your personal longing for you to be free. My longing for liberation and the longing I have for all beings to be free, we bring together into this deep aspiration for us to be free. May we all get free as quickly as possible. May there never be suffering and injustice ever again. And as this aspiration awakens, imagining that this warm white light begins to awaken in your heart center. It's like an orb of light slowly taking form in your heart center. This orb of light is actually your bodhicitta, your deep wish, aspiration, attitude for everything to get free. And this orb of light, this radiance becomes even stronger, and our whole bodies are being filled with this light. And we're radiating into the space around us. And soon we imagine that the whole world around us is saturated by our radiance. Everything is glimmering, shining, illuminated. And then everything, all phenomena around us begins to dissolve into this white light. And this white light dissolves into emptiness. And for a moment, our awareness drops into this emptiness, mingles with this emptiness, spacious, open, unlimited, this knowingness. And then from this emptiness, all of our benefactors begin to emerge, to arise like pinpoints of light, slowly beginning to take form and shape as radiant beings who only want us to be free and safe and happy, that we're surrounded on all sides by these benefactors. And they too are radiating this light, this radiance of deep care, beginning to fill all the space around us up with this warmth and this light. And we begin to absorb that light into our already illuminated bodies. And the light, the intensity is so overwhelming that our physical bodies begins to dissolve in this radiance. And for a moment, we are expressions of the most brilliant, clear light. And we allow our awareness to rest in this light, this radiance. And all our suffering, our grief, our struggles, our confusion dissolves into this radiance. And slowly, our bodies begins to reform, but this time we reform as expressions of medicine Buddha, of the great healer. And we don't think about this re-emerging, this taking shape. We just say, I am medicine Buddha, I am the great healer. You don't have to imagine anything, you don't have to see anything, you just have to have this thought, I am the healer. I am an expression of medicine Buddha, and that's it. And just allowing your awareness to rest in the space that opens up from this thought. I am the great healer. I am the light of all the worlds. And we turn our attention to our first mantra, Om Minma Sangye Kino Soha. And we'll start with Om, then we'll chant 3 times, and then we'll end with Om. Okay, we'll begin. Om. Om Azange Kino Soha. Om Lazange Hino Soa. Om Lazange Kino Soa. Om. And so, as we move into our main mantra, Teata, Om Begenze, Maha Begenze, Raso Sumungate Soha, we just sit in this radiance, this awakening of ourselves as the healer, surrounded by all the beings in the universe who love us. And in just doing this, we are praying, we are opening up as channels, becoming conduits for the stream of blessing to enter into this realm. And this is what we're doing when we do this practice. We are opening and allowing the blessings of all the Buddhas, not just Medicine Buddha, but all the Buddhas to stream into this world, into the darkness of this moment. And all we just have to do is be here, believe that we are channels, that we are the healer, rest, right? And trust the practice. So we begin. O te anda begenze, ma begenze, razumungate soha. 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 Te anda om begenze begenze ma begenze 라는 수문가에서 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 anda om begenze begenze 마 베근제 라스 수문가레소 대한다 옴 베근제 베근제 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 마 베근제 라스 수문가티소 대한다 옴 베근제 베근제 마 베근제 라스 수문가레소 대한다 옴 베근제 베근제 마 베근제 라스 수문가레소 대하다 옴 베근제 베근제 마 베근제 라스 수문가레소 대한다 옴 베근제 베근제 마 베근제 라스 수문가레소 대하다 옴 베근제 베근제 마 베근제 라스 수문가레소 대한다 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 옴 베근제 베근제 마 베근제 라스 수문가레소 beginse, ma beginse, raza sumungabe soha. Te anda beginse, beginse, ma beginse, raza sumungabe soha. Te anda beginse, beginse, ma beginse, raza sumunga te soha. So as we move into our prayers, maintaining the visualization that you're working with right now, and as I offer the prayers, imagining that these prayers become kind of like I don't know, expressions of light, kind of streams of light, or little snippets of light that pass, that rise from your being as the healer, and kind of like launches out into the world to wherever that blessing, that that energy needs to go. You don't have to think much about it. It's just that as the prayers are being offered, these prayers are just like energy arising from your being, moving out into the world, doing the work um, on behalf of whomever we're lifting the prayer for. So as we begin, we call to all of our sources of refuge, to all the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Dharma protectors, to all beings of light, to all the beings in the universe who love us, who want us to be free. We offer you these prayers. We ask that you work on our behalf to bring about the fruition of these prayers. And we also pray that you show us how to bring about the fruition of these prayers as well. And may we have the courage to act and to do the work, to make these prayers manifest. So begin by offering prayers that have the strength to overcome depression, isolation, and despair, and to continue to awaken for the benefit of all beings. Offering prayers that everything and everyone gets free as soon as possible, especially those in positions of power, such as government and law enforcement. May the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas call them back to the true nature of their being and free them from illusions that allow them to act with violence and cruelty. Offering prayers for peace for Kat as she navigates difficult end of life issues. Offering prayers for the overwhelming grief and pain I feel to integrate into more compassion and understanding. Prayers for liberation from the ghosts of the past. Prayers for health, peace, and liberation for the Ingrahams and the deal as they deal with Bee's health. Prayers for my back and continued healing, lifting up Tiffany and the girls as they continue to navigate school and extracurricular starting soon. Prayers for ease and joy for L, C, and V. Prayers for friend Julie as she leaves the U.S. for Europe, and may she be resourced and loved through her travel and arrival and beyond. Prayers for the recovery of L, who is enduring depression, isolation, and several health challenges. May they feel and find eternal and external support and resources. Prayers for clarity in my relationship and the courage to let go of that is my highest good. Help me to trust and let go of fear. May we all be free. Offering prayers for N, R, C, S, E, J, and K. Prayers for Lama Rod to be rested and free for his birthday week. Prayers for all beings in all realms to be completely free. Prayers for the good health of all beings. Prayers for the blessed community to grow stronger and more resilient. Prayers to be rid of illness and to life from this heavy energy. Prayers for support in the mountain of work I have to do, that I do the work well and diligently. Prayers to be more disciplined. Prayers to remember joy. Prayers for me and my fellowship cohort as we launch into a new leadership journey together. May our community and practice spur transformative life pivots and turns. Prayers for awakening and awareness, forgiveness, and our natural state of compassion. Prayers for intervention to cut through the cycles of harm, to open pathways for healing. Prayers and song to bring strength and sweetness to the world. Offering prayers for Michelle's recent acute health flare. May they have relief from their physical pain and receive clarity about its cause. Offering prayers for the people of Afghanistan as they deal with the aftermath of the terrible earthquake. Offering prayers for Andre, the magical human I met this week, as he mourns his grandmother's death. Beautiful soul, pray for his safety, resilience, health, and happiness. Offering prayers for myself to take control of my life in ways that will bring the most happiness, magic, and aid in my continued healing. Offering prayers to allow myself to surrender to the present moment, to trust that the path for me will present itself clearly in front of me. Pray that I can trust my intuition, that it will continuously lead me in the right direction. Prayers that my heart keep unfolding its many petals as it has been, allowing other hearts in. Prayers for Palestine. Prayers for me, Catherine Rochford, to receive stable, abundant income in the service and the benefit of all beings. Prayers for Papo, who entered the bardo recently and whose birthday was yesterday. May he rest easy in the ancestral realm and be supported by me and all other beings so that he may be completely liberated. Offering prayers that I may find clarity on my path and in my current relationship. Let me respond and not react, and find the fierceness and the compassion to make hard decisions with care. Prayers to strengthen and to lean into community. Prayers for Bill Hanavan and his family as he moves into palliative care at the end of his cancer journey. Prayers that I may figure out what to let go and find my energy and power. Prayers for my car and safety over my commute as I go back to school and work and start a CPE placement. Prayers for those blinded by comfort. Prayers for those suffering with hunger and abandonment. May they know they are loved and held by the Sangha and by the earth. Prayers for a quick transition for my mom. Prayers for those inflicting hurt on others, that they perceive the love that they need to stop their violence. Prayers for deepening self love and care to support me in seeing ego fixation and putting myself back together to offer to those who don't have resources for self love and care, and to continually offer myself to emptiness. Prayers for M, prayers for deep rest, spiritual nourishment, and peace. Prayers for H as he starts school. Prayers for financial abundance and clearing of all debt. Prayers for me that I can be in touch with my magic. Prayers for my mom, my sister, and her wife, and 3 children as they work through trauma. Prayers for the continued safety and protection of all queer and trans beings who did deep collective grief work this past weekend. May they integrate their experiences beautifully and skillfully. Prayers for Michelle that she will get a job so she can move out of her toxic situation. Prayers of protection from certain members of my family. Whenever I'm around them, I always feel energetically under siege. Prayers for Lama Rod. May all benevolent beings continue to support your deepest liberation, your rest, and all the care you need. May everything be made available as easily as possible. Prayers to protect all trans children. May they all live safely and beautifully as their authentic selves. Prayers that I stay healthy and can live my life fully and joyfully with the potential of severe autoimmune diseases I am working with. May we all have the love we crave. Prayers for the healing of my body and those experiencing illness. Prayers that I will find a way to stay in my home and clear the financial and relational debts I need to clear. Prayers for A and W and their son who is recovering from open heart surgery. May they be surrounded by love and support as they embark on their parenting journey to raise a child with complex medical needs. Offering prayers for all beings in institutions and those responsible for their care. May they be surrounded by love and compassion to embark on the right paths. Prayers for my family to continue loving relationship despite living in delusion. Prayers for my brother Patrick who is facing cancer. May he be comforted. May he stay strongly with love. I hope I can release my bitterness and pray to rise up. Pray to lift my eyes to spirit and find my path. Love to others on the path. Amen. Prayers for Sylvie and prayers for Sylvie who was just born. Prayers for Blake that he may access support during this challenging time while trusting and being respected in his sovereignty. Prayers for my dad who is experiencing cancer and navigating anxiety about death following a life greatly informed by trauma. Prayers for me as I witness him in his experience and want something different for him while accepting what is. Offering prayers for Naida C, who is recovering from a heart-related scare and visit to the emergency room last night and this morning. For her daughter Inez and Robin, may they also settle down and be able to her and each other. Prayers that I will be able to hear what my maternal grandmother is trying to tell me from the other side of the veil. Prayers for Mirror 16 with Hodgkin's lymphoma doing chemo for her mom Lexi and all her family. Prayers for Marcia, for Ricky Joyner and his wife Diane. Prayers for myself, glad to be on this path, to have a path to be on, and also feeling deeply exhausted, trying to keep healing body, mind, and spirit. Prayers for faith and connectedness when I feel disconnected and discouraged and tired. Prayers so that I can intuit how to respond to so many friends with health challenges in the best way for everyone. Prayers for deep loneliness and greater comfort, doing less so I can enjoy the fruits and insights and connectedness that arise from being still and being alone, which is different from loneliness. Prayers for Alice T, dealing with upcoming surgery for cervical cancer, for my daughter, her lifelong friends. Prayers for PV as I Prayers for PV and I as we step into generative discomfort and alignment with our integrity instead of hypervigilance and enmeshment, which no longer serves us. Offering prayers for me and my partner as we travel across borders to visit family. May we be safe and also remain open instead of fearful. For my own sense of bereft and feeling low energy since recovering from COVID again. Offering prayers for the health and well being of grandmother Pisamai Benapanya. Prayers for my family unity, especially for the benefit of our son. May we hold patience, spaciousness, and compassion for ourselves and each other. May we communicate from our hearts. Prayers for my evolving healing business and the clinic I am leaving behind to LG for her healing and empowerment. For the patients I will be leaving. Prayers for financial stability, independence, and mature decisions functioning. Prayers for my father Charles during his inpatient admission. May he recover his strength and be strong enough to restart chemotherapy for pancreatic cancer. May he feel supported and loved. Prayer for my mother Olivia, his primary caretaker. May she be able to rest and focus on herself as well. May she have a lovely birthday tomorrow. Prayers for my beloved community of Minneapolis. May our heartbreak flow into power and fearlessness. Prayers for all the freedom fighters en route to Gaza as part of the global Sumud flotilla to break the illegal siege to bring life-saving food and medicine to Palestinians fighting for the liberation. May all ships make safe passage, and may all the passengers be protected. Prayers that all of us stuck in old patterns that no longer serve us break from those patterns and turn over a new leaf. May we have the courage we need to surrender into discomfort so that we may change in the ways we need to meet this moment and become our most authentic selves. Prayers for Lex as they travel to their new home in California from the Midwest. May their trip be easeful, safe, and sweet. Prayers for this eclipse season to be fruitful for the collective and shine light on the darkness that needs love, attention, care, and transformation. I offer prayers for Sana and for Leah as they travel into different places to offer their medicine and their care. I continue to pray for the liberation of all beings, for the abolition of all systems of violence and harm, that we all have access as soon as possible to all the resources that we need to be well, safe, happy, and just our most authentic selves. May we all remember who and what we are as quickly as possible. May we all get free. May it be so. We offer these prayers to all of our benefactors. May the fruition of these prayers become real now. And so we turn back into our practice, back into the mantra, just for a few minutes. And again, imagining ourselves as the healer, but also ourselves as portals, channeling the blessings of all the Buddhas into this world. And we start again. O te ata begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soha. Te ata begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soha. Te ata begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa sumungate soha. Te ata begenze, begenze, ma begenze, rasa So releasing this final prayer out into the world, this prayer for all beings and all the realms and all the worlds to be completely healed and freed. And that through our blessing as the great healer, that this comes about as quickly as possible. And when we're ready, we begin to imagine that everything once again begins to dissolve into white light, this brilliance that pervades every corner of the universe and all the worlds and the realms. And slowly this light, this brilliance dissolves into emptiness, leaving our awareness mingling with emptiness itself, just being, just resting, just allowing. And so when you're ready, slowly beginning to allow your body to take form again, noticing the weight of your body and the seat rising to hold you. And as your body becomes more stable, you can begin to reawaken your body through simple movement. And we'll just turn our attention to Shanti Deva's prayer. And we'll recite this 3 times. May I be a protector to those without protection, and a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for all those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, and a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. Finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your practice. Um, and I'll just, if you want to stick around for a minute or two, I'll open just for any questions. I'll take like 2 or 3 questions. You can put them in the chat, um, or ask it live. And also, I do, for those of you who finished up the grief course, I still have questions. I still have your questions that we'll send out answers to those as well. Yeah. Yeah, my birthday. Yeah, my birthday's on Sunday. It's on the lunar eclipse. As usual, I'll be at the sex conference this weekend here in Atlanta. Some of you joined me last year for a very interesting time. So but I'll be at Sex Down South this year again, doing, erotic justice work, just doing my gimmick, you know how it is, shopping my propaganda from uh, everywhere, just shopping it around, honey. Yeah.
Well, just while we're waiting for questions to come in, first, thank you so much, Lama Rod. Thank you all. As I dropped in the chat, just a reminder, and Karen sent a reminder as well. If you're able to donate um, to just continue sustaining the accessibility of these medicine Buddha and all the kinds of different offerings that we do, that would be deeply appreciated. Just to continue putting fuel on the fire of this furnace of liberation, so to speak. And then the Medicine Buddha Quick Links document is, of course, there for you as well.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's good.
we can put. Well, Eric, do you have the PO box number handy?
I
I
don't.
can do it really quickly.
Okay, yeah, cool.
If you want to send something, we have a PO box number, like a birthday card, with money or gift certificates in it. Um, to stores we're not boycotting. So, like, keep your Target gift certificates to yourself. Um, because people.
And
Oh, I have a. Uh huh.
yeah, so I think there's two questions, so maybe that'll be all for this evening, depending on the time. But Ezra, if you have a question, and there, oh, thank you so much, Karen. Karen dropped the PO box.
Oh, okay. I was just, yeah. Thank you. So if
So,
you want to like send something, feel free to do so. It saves the time of like people emailing and like trying to figure it out. Okay, is there a question? Yeah, I don't know how to raise my hand in Zoom, but I have a question.
yeah,
Um,
can you hear me okay?
yes.
Awesome. So my question is really just like, do you have advice on how to surrender?
Uh-huh. Well, yeah. I mean, I just think about surrendering as rest as well. Like, do we know how to rest? I find those things to be very similar. Those practices, right? Um, but I think to surrender more specifically is to trust what you're surrendering into. And maybe we don't trust that. Like if I let go, am I going to be caught? And so you have to get clear about that too. It's like you just don't surrender, but there has to be a source of refuge that's catching us, right? And that can be anything. As we were talking about yesterday in our refuge work, it's like you have to take refuge in the thing that has our best interests in mind, right? And in a very Buddhist liberatory sense, we take refuge in the things that can actually get us free, or we surrender into the experiences or things that actually are about getting us free, right? And once we get clear that there is something that's actually trying to get us free, then it becomes easier to let go, right? To let go and to say, you know what, I'm going to let go and I'm going to trust that I'm going to be protected. I'm going to be watched over. I'm going to be just kind of tended to, right? And this is why refuge practice is so important. It gives us a destination. It gives us a place to go. This is why we often say you go for refuge. We're going for refuge. I am surrendering into this experience that can actually tend to me. And once you find that experience, these real kind of glimpses of liberation or experiences of liberation really, really awaken for us. Right? But we have to trust something. Yeah.
Thank you, Ezra.
It's helpful. And I see this question. Oh, I see two. I'll get these two from Calais and Constance. No, from Catherine. Um, so this question arrived during practice. If we are praying to get free until everyone is healed, and until everyone is healed, does that free and healed world have shadows? Well, as long as you're in the world, it's always going to be shadows. So we can be free in the world, but you're going to be free still in a realm of desire and karma, right? And as long as that is happening, which is also to say that this is a realm of dualities. Duality is what one of the things that gives rise, right, to this experience of reality. There's always going to be shadows. Our awakening in the body in the dream doesn't mean the shadows disappear. It means that we have capacity to hold the shadows in awareness and care, which is not what we're fully doing now. This is when I tell you that like liberation is about going into, not going around or above or under. It's about leaning into the shadows. To lean into the shadow means that we are not reacting to the shadow, but holding the shadow in a lot of awareness and space. Right. So even as an awakened being, if you awaken in the body and the world, there's still going to be shadows, right? And if you're not skillful enough, those shadows still get you into trouble, as we see and have seen many times, right, with awakened teachers. Um, I know there's a bunch of questions. So I'll do one more and then I will sign off.
I think the next one that came in is from Catherine. Um, how to deal with embarrassment about one's own behavior, aside from apologizing, obviously.
Yeah, just this is simple practice, which is to understand that every fucking being has embarrassed themselves at some point in life, including the Buddha. if the Buddha has relevance for you. Um, but you have never had an experience that no other being has had, right? Does that make sense? You've never had a being. There's no there. You will never do anything that's countless beings haven't done before, and you won't be the last. So if it may be the most embarrassing thing, when I embarrass myself, which I do often, um, like this is the first thing that I think. I was like, yeah, people may be looking at you, staring at you, laughing at you, but they know what that is. They know what that feels like because they have been there before. So if you think that, then you know you're not alone in this, right? That's the easy practice. Then, of course, the more difficult practice is to just remember that you're an expression of emptiness and there's no self to be embarrassed. If you have capacity to go there in the moment, but I realize that can be a big stretch for you in the moment. So stay with the fact that like everyone has embarrassed themselves before. You're not the only one. You're not the last. People may be staring and looking at you, but they're just like deeply insecure and afraid that that's going to be them again one day. That's it. And if you take that on, then you're like, I'm going to take on all of this embarrassment on behalf of all beings who have felt embarrassed and alone and isolated, right? And then you practice this profound, you know, kind of altruism, this profound bodhicitta in the moment. May I take on the embarrassment of all the beings and all the worlds in this moment. And somehow it kind of short circuit the intensity of the embarrassment that you feel. It really works. It's like magic. It's like it kind of breaks. You take on all the suffering and it just breaks open into emptiness, right? Okay, great, everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, take care of yourself. I know I don't have to say that, but these are rough waves right now, and let's look forward to the lunar eclipse on Sundays. So let's make our prayers, let's light our candles, and just be in a lot of intention, right? To really harness this moon, this energy for clearing, for letting go, for surrendering, for opening. That's the energy that's being called, or that's the awakening in the world right now. So let's use it and be intentional about it. And I may see some of you on Sunday too in person, one or two of you maybe. But I hope to see you on Thursday for Free Radicals as well. And you'll have that information on the website. All right. Thank you, everyone. Please be well and safe until we meet again. May you be safe and protected for you, your loved ones, and your communities. May it be so.